Greetings. I am Taven of a Mind Transformed, and this is Manna for Your Journey. Have you ever pursued something with everything you had? You gave it your best effort, you made a plan, you checked it twice, you looked at it from all angles, you thought you had the best plan, you put it into motion, you proceeded to walk it out, and yet you seem to run into trouble and issue and problem after problem after problem, and it grew very frustrating. But you're not a quitter, so you continued on, you kept trying, and yet you keep running into frustration. And usually at that point, that's when we cry out to God, because oftentimes we don't bring in God in the beginning. We usually bring in God when our plans have failed and we can't figure it out, as if we can bother God with little things. That's not that big deal. I'm not going to ask God. But God told us to pray about everything. He can stop us or save us from putting ourselves in frustrating situations by trying something that God clearly wouldn't co-sign, put his hands to bless, because he has a different way. This Manna for Your Journey is simply for those of you who are still striving, trying to accomplish something or reacting to something. Psalms 46:10 says in part, cease striving and know that I am Lord. It's similar to a scripture or another translation that would say, be still and know that I am God. Cease striving. That is enough for now, is what God is saying to you. Rest. Relax. That is enough for now. You've done everything that you can do. What God is saying is he's going to provide the next part of the plan. He's going to make a way. The story in Kings where Elijah had this great moment with God where he had all the prophets of Baal. There was 450 prophets. He told King Ahab to bring the people, and all of Israel were there, and they watched. And pretty much Elisha was saying, you have to choose between God and these false gods, and here's what we're going to do. The prophets of Baal are going to have a sacrifice. They're going to lay it down, lay it on wood, and prepare it, but not like the fire. And I'm going to do the same thing, and whichever God answers is the true and living God. So, of course, the prophets of Baal pray all day, or Baal pray all day, go through all their rituals, cut themselves, mutilate themselves, which is how they worshiped, and they get no answer from Baal. No answer at all. So in the evening, Elijah prepares he digs a trench around the offering. He tells the people, go get water and keep pouring water on the offering, dousing it as much as possible. They pour so much water, it fills the trench around the altar. And he prays. And God sends fire that consumes the sacrifice, consumes the altar, consumes the water. And the people know that God is God, the true and living God. After that, the 450 prophets of Baal are killed, and Elisha then goes, and there's the next day. Well, King Ahab tells Jezebel, this is where we get Queen Jezebel, what happened, and she sends a messenger to Elijah and says, may the gods do the same to me or worse if I don't have you killed by the end of the day. And Elijah runs. He runs off. He goes into the wilderness, walks for a day in the desert, sits down at a tree. He's exhausted, he's weary, he's tired, he's frustrated, he's on the run, and then he complains to God, this is enough, I should just die. He falls asleep. God wakes him up and tells him to eat, to be prepared for what's next, and Elisha falls back asleep. For some of us, this is what God is saying. Relax, eat, sleep. He'll provide the instructions when it's time. He'll open the door when it's time. He'll make a way when it's time. God told Elijah, he fed him again, and he told him where to go. And Elijah walked for 40 days and 40 nights. He didn't get instructions from God until he arrived at the place where God told him to go. God's going to provide the next part of the journey. God's going to provide the details. God's going to make a way. You, for your part, cease striving. Relax. God has it. What God is saying to you is, that's enough for now. He'll tell you the next part. He'll provide the next instructions. But that's enough for now. Well, that's all I have for you. Again, my name is Taven of a Mind Transformed. Be blessed.